If in silence you carry that feeling of just getting through the days, as if life were happening without you knowing it. If, deep down, you feel that you react more than you choose, put out fires more than you ignite purpose, and that the days, those same days that should be yours, slip through your fingers like fine sand that you can't hold, then this video is not just recommended for you, it was made because of you. Because there is a truth that the modern world tries to hide with distractions, empty productivity, and imposed goals. You were not born to just survive, but to live, and live with direction, with meaning, with depth. And the key to this lies not in miracles or strokes of luck, but in something much more real, much more accessible. And yet, ignored by many, the habits that you cultivate daily. There are invisible patterns that silently sculpt what you are becoming. And here is something that almost no one dares to say clearly. Your life does not change because time has passed or because you wished for it so much. Life changes when you change, and you change when your habits change. Because the right habits have the power to rewrite entire stories, restore forgotten identities, and restore protagonism to those who have lost their way in the automatic survival mode. In the next few minutes, you will delve into 7 profoundly transformative habits. Habits that are not just practices, but keys that unlock dormant versions of yourself. Each of them has the potential to take you out of reactive mode, where you are just trying not to drown, and take you to a state of consciousness where you begin to build with intention the life you were truly born to live. And maybe, maybe the key that is most missing on your journey is right at the end of this video. Because sometimes it is the last door we open that shows us who we really are. Habit 1. Act proactively. Reactivity is the invisible prison where many people live without realizing it. It is the state where your identity is shaped by external forces, by what was said about you, by what was done to you, by what was missing, by the doors that were closed, by the affections denied. Living in this state is like saying without words, I am just the result of the world around me. Reactivity is an emotional trap disguised as normality. It makes you live in automatic mode, where everything you feel, do, or decide always seems to be a response to something or someone, a look, a criticism, an absence, a painful memory. In this state, you do not live, you survive. You hope the world will improve, that people will change, that the past will return to be different, but time does not go back, and people often do not change. So the question that changes destinies arises. What if the one who needs to change is you? But proactivity, true proactivity, is more than acting. It is an awakening. It's when you look at your own story and with a rare kind of courage, decide that you will no longer allow the echoes of the past, the failures of others, or the noise of circumstances to define who you are going to be from now on. Proactivity is the turning point. It's not about doing more, it's about being more aware. It's an internal shift where you move from being a silent victim to being the author of your own narrative. Being proactive is understanding that it doesn't matter what the world throws at you. What really matters is what you choose to do with it. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control the meaning you give to each event. That changes everything, because meaning shapes your actions, and your actions shape your destiny. Being proactive is not pretending that the world doesn't hurt, but choosing day after day not to let those wounds decide your trajectory. It's the silent language of those who take emotional responsibility. What happens to me is a chapter, not the conclusion of my story. This first habit doesn't scream. It doesn't ask for an audience. It happens in the inner silence of those who decide to stop outsourcing their own existence, of those who realize that circumstances are just raw material, and that the interpretation you give to them is what really shapes your destiny. Because when you break the cycle of guilt and assume the power of creation, something changes. You stop being a reaction and become a direction. And from that moment on, everything that happens stops defining you and starts to build you. When you become proactive, you stop living hostage to triggers and start living guided by values. You leave the vicious cycle of guilt, where everything is an excuse, everything is a hindrance, everything is someone, and enter the virtuous cycle of creation, where everything becomes a tool, a learning experience, an impulse. Practical. Activity. The 3 self. Take a piece of paper or open your cell phone's notepad and write 3 columns with the following titles. My reactive self 2, my proactive self 3. What can I do now? In the first column, write down recent situations in which you reacted. Blaming someone, waiting too long, procrastinating, canceling yourself out, sabotaging yourself. In the second, rewrite these same situations from the perspective of an I who takes charge. What would he say? How would he act? What would he do differently? In the third column, choose one of these situations and write down a small, concrete action that you can take today to act proactively. Something simple, direct, that gets you moving. Do this for 7 days and watch. When you change the lens through which you see your life, your story begins to transform. Even if the world is still the same. Start with the goal in mind. Imagine waking up every day with the feeling that you know exactly where you are going. Imagine living like someone who has already read the last chapter of their own story and has decided to rewrite the pages of the present to match the ending they deserve, because that is what people with purpose do. They don't just live, they build. They don't react to the day, they lead the day. While many are running around busy, without knowing why, those who have clarity live with intention. Living without a goal is like rowing in circles in a rough sea. You get tired, but you don't get anywhere. You accomplish tasks, put out fires, meet expectations. But in the silence, you keep asking yourself, where is all this taking me? And here is the truth that few face head-on. Those who don't define their destination end up being used in the plans of those who have already defined their own. Starting with the goal in mind is not about having a rigid, meticulously drawn plan. It's about anchoring your journey in something bigger. It's about asking yourself, courageously and frequently, who do I want to be at the end of all this? Because when you know who you want to become, you start saying no to what distracts, what drives you away, what only occupies you. And you start saying yes to what builds, connects you, and brings you closer to your center. This habit is about aligning your routine with your deepest values. It's about not getting lost in the noise of the world, because your inner compass is calibrated. You know what matters. You know what is noise and what is truth. And when your why is strong enough, even the hard days become stepping stones. Fear still appears, but it no longer rules. The practical activity, the last page. Today, stop for a few minutes. Close your eyes and imagine you're awake. That's right. But watch as a spectator. Family, friends, colleagues, they are there. Imagine that each of them will give a short speech about who you were. What would you like them to say? How do you want to be remembered? Now, take a pen and paper and write it in the form of a letter, as if you were looking from there to here to the present. Describe the person you need to start being today, so that at the end of your story, you can hear these words. Don't worry about writing beautifully. Write truthfully. This letter will be your guide. Read this letter every day for the next 7 days. And every time you feel lost, tired, or disconnected, come back to it. Because when the end is clear, the path reveals itself. Think in win-win from an early age. Perhaps without realizing it, you have been trained to believe that life is a race, that in order for someone to win, someone else has to lose. That in order to be recognized, you have to outdo others. And that if someone around you shines, your place may be threatened. This is the paradigm of scarcity, an invisible and silent pattern that sabotages partnerships, corrodes relationships, and prevents true evolution. But there is a turning point, a key that changes the way you see the world and yourself. Thinking in win-win is not just a leadership strategy, it is a philosophy of life. It is the courage to abandon comparison and enter into collaboration. It is understanding that when someone grows alongside you, you also expand, because we are not competing for a single throne. We are building bridges to a kingdom where everyone can reign in their own identity. This habit requires emotional security. Only those who know their own worth are able to recognize the value of others without feeling threatened. And only those who have escaped the cycle of scarcity are able to celebrate the success of others without losing their own direction. The protagonist does not enter negotiations with a scarcity mentality. He does not seek to win at anyone's expense. He creates solutions where everyone grows, because he knows that true achievement is not control, it is connection, and that the world changes when the intention stops being to win and starts to build. Thinking win-win does not mean being naive. It means choosing relationships in which respect is mutual, growth is mutual, and the fruits are shared wisely. It is a silent revolution, but when you adopt this habit, your world changes frequency, and the results reflect it. Practical activity. Map of expansive connections. Take a sheet of paper and draw 3 concentric circles. A small one in the center, a medium one around it, and a third larger one surrounding both. In the center circle, write relationships that strengthen me. People with whom there is mutual support, truth, growth. In the second circle, write relationships that require balance, where there is potential, but also challenges that require awareness. In the third circle, write relationships that drain, connections based on competition, manipulation, or toxic comparison. Now look at this honestly and choose a simple action. Strengthen a relationship from the first circle with a compliment, collaboration, or meaningful conversation. Rebalance a relationship from the second circle with a clear request or a new limit. And if the time is right, maturely walk away from a relationship from the third circle that prevents you from growing. Repeat this exercise once a week. You will notice that when you plant win-win in your relationships, you reap abundance, not only in the results but mainly within
Habit
yourself.
5.
Seek first to understand, then to be understood if you stop and think. How many times in a conversation do you truly listen with an open heart? You don't listen to retort. You don't listen to defend yourself, but you listen with the genuine intention of understanding the pain, the context, the feelings behind the words. This habit reveals a truth that many ignore. Most people don't want advice. They want understanding. They want to be seen, felt, recognized in their humanity before any argument. But we live in an era of noise, of quick answers, impatient opinions, instant judgments, and because of this, empathetic listening has become an almost extinct skill, and at the same time, an emotional superpower. Deep listening is an act of presence. It is suspending one's own ego for a few minutes to enter the other person's universe without invading, without correcting, without shaping. It is having the maturity to understand that understanding is not agreeing. It is simply giving the other person a safe space that they may never have found anywhere else. When you develop this habit, something changes irreversibly. You become a rare presence, and rare presences in times of superficiality are unforgettable, because those who listen with their hearts transform silence into healing and even transform conflicts into bridges. More than a gesture of empathy, this habit becomes a tool for leadership and influence, because those who understand conquer, and those who judge isolate themselves. If you want to be heard, if you want to be understood, first learn to give what you so desperately seek. Listening is the seed, connection is the fruit. Practical activity 3. Conscious listening. For the next 3 days, choose one conversation per day. It can be with someone at home, at work, or even via text message. Your only goal will be to listen to understand, not to give opinions, corrections, or advice. Follow these simple steps. Look into the eyes, or imagine the person's full presence if you're at a distance. Take a deep breath before responding. Repeat in your own words what you understood before saying what you think. Observe the impact this has on the person, then record how you felt. You'll realize that true connection doesn't come from what we say, but from how we make the other person feel heard. And maybe you'll discover that deep listening is the most healing language there is. Habit 6, create synergy. Have you ever noticed how sometimes when two people come together with the right intention, something extraordinary happens? It's not just addition, it's multiplication. It's as if two intelligences, two stories, two perspectives intertwine and form something new that neither party could create alone. This is the power of synergy. We live in a world where many believe they need to compete to win, that they need to shout to be heard, that they need to impose themselves to prove their worth. But the truth is that true protagonists, those who build legacies, who leave their mark, who move realities, know how to unite, not separate. Synergy is not agreeing with everything. It's valuing differences. It's understanding that the other person sees what you don't see, feels what you haven't felt yet, thinks from angles that may never have crossed your mind. And it's precisely at this intersection that innovation lives. Creativity, the solutions that no one else sees. Creating synergy means opening up space for ideas to breathe together. It means having the humility to listen with curiosity, not judgment. It means transforming dialogue into a laboratory of possibilities. And the most profound thing is that when you choose to create synergy, you stop seeing the other person as a threat. You start to see them as an extension of your own evolution, because everything you don't have can be accessed through someone who does. True strength is not in control, it's in connection. And the protagonists, those who change the course of their own story, know how to build bridges where many still insist on building walls. Practical activity, creative collision. In the next few days, identify a person with whom you have different views on a topic. It could be at work, in your family, or even in social circles. Invite this person to a constructive conversation. The goal: create an idea, a solution, or a simple exchange of perspectives together where differences are not avoided, but valued. Follow these guidelines. Begin the conversation by making it clear that the purpose is not to convince, but to understand. As with genuine curiosity, how do you see this? Write down points that had never crossed your mind. Finally, propose a small insight or action together based on the combination of ideas. Then, observe. What emerged there would not exist without this fusion of perspectives, and that is synergy in Habit 7, tuning your instrument. What's the point of reaching the top If you arrive there empty, what's the point of achieving goals? If inside, you're fragmented. The seventh habit is a powerful reminder, often ignored by those who live seeking external results. You are your main resource, and everything that is not renewed becomes sick. Your mind may be brilliant, but if your body is exhausted, it will sabotage your reasoning. Your heart may have the best intentions, but if your emotions are disorganized, you will feel disconnected. Your spirit may cry out for purpose, but if you live on autopilot, it will be impossible to hear it. Tuning your instrument is an act of strategic intelligence. It is understanding that the protagonist is not the one who runs the fastest. It is the one who knows when to stop, breathe, listen to himself, and realign himself with what matters. Ordinary people run until they fall. Protagonists stop before they get lost. And we're not talking about luxury. We're talking about emotional survival. We're talking about silent discipline, of routines that regenerate you, of practices that keep you whole while the world tries to fragment you. Because, in the end, no one gives what they don't have. You can't offer peace if you live in an internal war. You can't inspire if you're out of touch. You can't lead if you're disconnected from yourself. Find yourself in tune. You're not a machine. You're a complex and extraordinary being, and you deserve to be whole, to live what you came to live. Practical activity, circle of renewal. Take a piece of paper now, or open your cell phone's notes, and draw a circle. Divide it into 4 parts, like a pie chart. Body, mind, emotions. Spirit, now answer honestly, from 0 to 10, how is your level of care for each of these areas? Then, write down one simple action, small but powerful, that you can take today to begin renewing each of these parts. Example: body, go to bed 30 minutes earlier. Mind, read 5 pages of a good book. Emotions, write down what I'm feeling without filtering it. Spirit, take 5 minutes to listen to what moves me. Save this circle. Repeat this exercise every week. Over time, you won't just be someone who does things, you'll be someone who stays whole while doing things. Now that you know the 7 habits that change destinies, there is one question you cannot ignore. Are you just going to watch this video? Or are you going to let it be the turning point in your story? Because knowledge that is not turned into action becomes just another invisible burden, one that makes you doubt yourself. But when you apply it, even if it starts with something small, you trigger a new cycle within yourself. You stop surviving and start living with intention. The truth is that the person you want to be is not far from you. They already live inside you, waiting for the right habits to awaken. You don't need to be ready. You just need to start. So if this video spoke to you on some level, subscribe now, not to follow me, but to remind yourself every day of who you are. Choosing to become, activate the bell, because the next videos will be a continuation of this process, and missing the next one can be like forgetting an essential part of yourself. Comment below, which of these habits do you most need to put into practice right now? Your answer may inspire someone who is reading and needs exactly what you have to share. And if this content touched you, share it, not for me, but because someone in silence may need to hear exactly this today, and you can be the channel for this transformation. Because here, you don't just watch videos, you build your new identity, one habit at a time. One choice a day, a completely new destiny, and if you stay, I stay with you.